It needs to be a strong bass, and it needs to be a solid kind of very, solid, kind of tight sound as well. And Kevin has managed to get all of that in this instrument, and it's one of the finest instruments I have. Very hard to leave home without it.
Hi, I'm Kevin Muiderman. I'm a guitar maker here in North Dakota on the cold, windy prairies of the winter here. I've had the privilege over the last couple of decades to make instruments for one of the great guitar players in the world, John Doyle. So I met John a couple of decades ago, I think it was, back when I'd been a fan of John's music since the Solas days, so since the 90s, and I was really trying to learn more about Irish music and was listening to a lot of it, lots of different bands, and what John was doing on the guitar was otherworldly. And so he was one of the teachers at the Swannanoa gathering every summer in Asheville, North Carolina. There's an Irish music week where you can go and learn from all the best players in the world, and John was one of the teachers, and so I went and took John's guitar class. And of course, I brought one of my guitars along with me, and he became interested in the sounds that he was hearing. We kept in touch and started developing guitars for him using prototypes. So the first thing I did was made a prototype of a dreadnought guitar using composite materials and a double top, because he said that he had guitars that would play, as he calls them, the tunes, right? The articulate single line things. Guitars that were good for the percussive bass and the percussive chordal accompaniment. But he said, can you make a guitar that does both? And so I said, let's try. And so I put together some prototypes. In fact, actually, what I'm going to do is, this is actually bottom. Yeah. This is the original prototype body that I used to design the first of the John Doyle guitars. Currently, this is in the Willie Porter 9-string baritone configuration, but it shows how I reuse prototype elements. So for the Doyle prototypes, I used this body, a mahogany dreadnought body, but had a different top on it and a different neck on it. The neck bolts off and on, and I was able to pop the top off and put the tops that we were working on. So after a couple of iterations back and forth, I was able to find an instrument that he felt did both of the things he wanted to do. It had the percussive roar, but also had all the clarity so that he could play the fiddle tunes, and it did things that other guitars that he'd played weren't able to do. Oftentimes you have to sacrifice a particular range if you're going to get a lot of percussive bass. Sometimes you get kind of a muffled treble. If you have a hyper clear, crisp treble, sometimes you don't get much chestiness in the bass. So by using the composite materials, making the top super light and having the top a double top, so it's mostly air, we were able to get all the bass that he wanted, but still have this piano-like upper register clarity. So yeah, this is the original body. It's gone through gobs of different iterations, but this is where it began. just finished a series of guitars for him, a whole new design. He tours the world, and as airlines tighten things up, it becomes more and more difficult for musicians to transport their instruments overseas. We started miniaturizing his guitars. Usually he plays these big dreadnought guitars, but he wondered if we could prototype and work up a smaller guitar that still had the tone he's looking for, especially on stage.
So it has a very lovely bright end. There's no compromise in that whatsoever. It's very bright and very rich sounding. But it's the low end that's very interesting. The mid-range is lovely. It's true, there's a slight bit less bass than there will be in a normal dreadnought, obviously, because it's half the depth. But funnily enough, like when it's picked up, you don't notice that at all. And sometimes it's actually of benefit because it gives it more of a controlled low end, which I've noticed over the last few months of playing it through pickups and through PAs and through amps. And so that's been kind of interesting to hear.
Once again, I used a series of disassemblable prototypes, and we came up with a thin body OM size guitar. For those in the know, an OM is just a medium sized guitar, fairly thin in its body depth, not too large. And it means that the case is smaller, it means that the guitar is lighter, and it means that he can more easily transport it through airports and overseas. Maybe even bring it on an airplane instead of having to check it through or hit people on the head trying to get it in the overhead compartment. He is now touring with the instrument and really is loving it. In the process of completing a copy for myself of the same dimensions and the same design. John's left-handed, so I can't really try the guitar the way I'd like to, or even show the guitar to others, because most people are right-handed. So it's right behind me here. So here's a copy of the John Doyle guitar, and for those of you who know John Doyle, know that this is a little unusual in that it's a fairly small guitar. I think he's like 6'3" or 4", and he plays these dreadnoughts, and he's been known for playing those for decades. This is a complete diversion from that. As you can see also that it's a fairly narrow-bodied guitar. Here's a standard OM guitar, and you can see how thick it is compared to this one. Using composite techniques, using an ultra-lightweight top, this one's cedar, and composite bracing on the inside, we were able to get a really big sound and really nice clarity all up and down the neck from a small-bodied guitar. So because I hadn't done this before and didn't know whether it was even possible to do, I didn't know if it was possible to get a big sound out of a guitar this small. Usually thin-line acoustic electric guitars are not really very good acoustic guitars and not really very good electric guitars because they're a compromise. So could we make one that doesn't compromise? And I think we've got it. He's able to, with his guitar, play all the things that he normally does. He's known for his roaring, moving basses and chord changes as a rhythm accompanist in Irish music. As you'll hear in the videos of him, all those things are well accomplished. He also is an articulate player of fiddle tune melodies, Oftentimes he's playing the melodies and the chords at the same time, which is sort of a incredible magic trick.
Who knows what fate brings, what life has in store? We peer through a looking glass dimly. As I stepped on board and steerage went toward, well, below decks a dread chill spread o'er me. At last we weighed anchor and ploughed o'er the main, the last hint of land dimming slowly, where we zigzagged our course for fear of the worst, but the worst plied its course far below me.
And the guitar is able to accomplish all those things. And so I'm more of a fingerstyle player, and so I adapted the bracing for fingerstyle playing, and so we'll string it up once it gets all finished and see if it accomplishes what I hoped. So as always, the new models that I make are driven by requests from players. This is something I never would have thought of in a million years. So thanks, John, for asking for this particular model. It drives me on to trying brand new things, and it makes it all thrilling. Thanks, John.
So there you go. This is Kevin Muiderman's thin-bodied dreadnought guitar, if you can call it that. So there we go. Another great work of Kevin's.